Hey, what's up, everybody? Dan Kasper here for another episode of the Man Cave podcast. And it's been a hot minute since we've done another podcast. And if you are a regular follower, subscriber to the Man Cave podcast, first of all, thank you for doing that. Appreciate that. But you've probably noticed not pumping out as many episodes as we normally do, like whether it's show highlights and that sort of thing. So kind of, with it being New Year 2026 and such, kind of just looking at things, kind of reassessing some things, maybe even changing up some things a little bit too. And that includes this podcast a little bit. And I mean, just to kind of dive into it a little bit, I've been thinking about for a while different ways to make this podcast just a little bit different. Like, obviously sports is still going to be the key thing and the main thing in here, but it's like what can separate this podcast from other like 500 billion other sports podcasts and such, and just a bunch of other things that are kind of going on here too. And obviously we got the radio show that's 4 hours weekdays, and the last thing that I want to do is have a podcast that is exactly the same as the radio show. Have highlights, absolutely. That's probably a bad way of kind of phrasing it. I'd still want to put clips up and highlights because again, a big thanks to all of you who do tune in to the radio program. And I get it, 4 hours. Not everybody listens every day from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. So I still want to put up highlights, like, separated when we do Packers and we do Brewers and Bucks and that. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to still do that without, like, especially if you are a follower and subscriber, I don't want to flood your notifications so you get annoyed, like, oh, hell, there's 5 new episodes of the podcast that are up there. That's not what I want to try to do, even though it probably numbers-wise looks great on a sheet, in my world, in that I guess when it comes to new episodes for this particular podcast or this project for the Man Cave podcast, I've really been trying to figure out a flow, a vibe, just maybe a different way to do it. And a lot of thought has gone into this, and honestly, I'm still going to be toying with this a little bit, just to try to find that sweet spot, try to find that rhythm. And essentially what it boils out, because I've thought about, okay, do I want to break this up into segments and do certain segments and just, every Monday and Thursday we drop episodes and we're going to do this segment. And to be honest, it felt like I thought that's the direction we were going to go. And I'm like, okay, that's the radio show again. There's nothing wrong. I hope you all are listeners and you like the radio show, but I wanted to still make this something different. And for me, kind of open the door a little bit behind my life. I am one, and it's, there's certain times, but right now, for whatever reason, like I have severe anxiety. Okay. And I want to be a little bit more open about that. And because I think, I don't think it should be something that should be too shy or shouldn't at least acknowledge. But I'm like, okay, I got to figure out a way to maybe help relieve that a little bit. And I'm like, man, is there something I can do with this podcast? Now, before you shut this off, it's not going to be, talking about anxiety and feelings and and all that sort of stuff. We're still going to talk sports, and we're still going to talk some other cool shit in here. Like, I don't know, I might want to talk a little Bigfoot, or if you're watching the video stream right now, I'm looking around my man cave. Might talk a little hunting, but mostly it'll be sports net. But the thing is, I kind of want it to be a little bit of a release. And the more I thought about it, the concept of a man cave, a she shed, whatever space, like your sanctuary, the concept of that is to just get away from everything, right? It's to get away. It's to just take a step back, maybe get away from all the crap that you're dealing with at work, with your family. Man caves and these spaces are our way to get away from things and maybe just kind of let loose. And the more I thought about that, I'm like, why can't that be maybe the theme of this podcast? Unscripted, no fake crap, no predetermined segments or anything like that. Turning on the camera, turning on record. Sometimes we're going to have some friends with us, and we're just going to shoot the shit, and we're just going to talk. And we're going to talk a lot of sports. We're going to be honest, and just kind of see where the conversations flow. Hell, if I watch an old Unsolved Mysteries episode, I'm like, guys, gals, I got to talk about this because there's this like crazy thing. Screw it, I'm going to do it. Because, man caves and our spaces, they don't just have to be about sports. It could be any hobby. Maybe you're a Ninja Turtles collector. Or I'm telling you stuff that I used to like. I got like one Ninja Turtle thing up in my man cave here. But, everybody's got different things. And that's why, like, man cave, I it does give the impression of sports. And that's still going to be a central theme. But I want to hear more about all you listeners out there that what are you interested in? What are your hobbies? That's why I want to hear from you. That's why we got the email address, mancavepodmail@gmail.com. I want to see pictures of your man caves. I want to see pictures of your she sheds. I want to hear about your hobbies, your interests and stuff. And whatever else. You got to take on sports. I can leave you in, I don't have to say your name. You got a scary story to tell? I love a damn good ghost story that I want to share. We might have episodes that just straight up talk about that. You got cool stories about going to a game or watching your kid's game? Share it with the rest of our community. All right? Share. I call them armchair MVPs on the show, and I hope I can call all of the listeners to the podcast our armchair MVPs. So that's kind of the flow. Does that make sense? I hope that kind of makes sense. What I hope to accomplish with this kind of revamped man cave podcast, because I and actually talking it out loud a little bit while we're recording this kind of makes more sense to me. Like, I've written stuff down and just kind of contemplated it for a long time now. And before I started just pumping out episodes, and I'm like, I gotta take a step back and I gotta catch my breath a little bit. I'm still trying to figure out, maybe we just combine, it's like the 715 tailgate series, and that's where we put, the Bucks talk and the Packers talk and the Brewers talk all under one umbrella, instead of 715 Green and Gold talk, 715 Brew Crew tailgate talk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? So if you got, hey, I'm open for any ideas for that. But the overall theme and some new contents for these Man Cave, that's the thing, is like, I want to pump out new episodes of the Man Cave podcast. I really want to grow this podcast. That I'm not big on New Year's resolutions because I don't want to be disappointed and such. And like, oh crap, I didn't live up to that goal. I'm a loser. I'd really, 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 really like to see this podcast kind of get out there a little bit more, because I want it to be an escape. Man caves and our areas, that those should be escapes. And even like in sports, for a lot of people, sports should be their escape. Watching a game, whether it's a pro or whether it's college or whether it's your kid, should be your escape. And I've noticed a lot, and maybe this is more so for Packers people, Packers fans and such, but I've just noticed, like, well, hell, I was at a college basketball game, and just listening to fans in the crowd, and it's like, man, we gotta, sports are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be our escape. They're supposed to be our way of winding down. That's what we're supposed to look forward to at the end of the day. Yet it feels like for a lot of fans, they're letting sports control their lives. They're letting their favorite teams, players, coaches that they have never met, they don't know, dictate how happy and how mad they're going to be in life. Now, I used to be that way. I'm not going to sit here and preach and say, don't do this and don't do that, and you can't be upset if your team loses. Not what I'm saying. But I have been in those situations where I've allowed sports to dictate how I'm going to feel for that week, how happy I'm going to be, how upset I'm going to be around people, how I may treat other people. I'm going to let a team dictate that. And I don't know what happened. About 10 years ago or so, it kind of changed. It started to, maybe I got a little bit more mature, but it's like, it's not worth it. Yeah, okay, for example, Packers losing to the Bears in the playoffs. Hell yeah, I was upset. I was down. But I didn't let it fester me, and I didn't let it bother me for, days and days and days. Like I would have used to. And I'll admit it, I remember I was in college, okay, when Mike McCarthy was hired as coach. And I remember when the season began, his first year. Remember that? They finished 8-8. I think they started like 0-4. Then they went 4-4. Then they went 4-8. Then I think they went like 8-8. Something weird like that. But I remember at the beginning of the season when it was not good. Because this is what you do as an idiot 19-year-old kid in college. When social media is just on the rise, what do? You make stupid like Facebook pages, groups, MySpace pages, whatever. This was before Twitter. And I remember I did this. I created a Facebook group page to fire Mike McCarthy. Like I was like, this was his first year, first few weeks in there. And it's funny because, so I was in college then, and Mike McCarthy and I started to do the sports radio show while Mike McCarthy was still head coach. And you think about that, I was like, man, that wasn't that long ago. To go from 06 to when he was there, and I was on the air, doing the show, when Mike McCarthy was fired, well, the night before he got fired and such. And I think if you ask a lot of people who really know me, they would view me as a Mike McCarthy supporter and backer probably longer than I probably should have when he was with Green Bay. So I think about that, and I still just like shake my head at because I even think I was such an idiot. I had friends like, okay, my buddy Anthony, he played wide receiver in high school. He's going to be a wide receivers coach. My buddy Jake was a great running back. He's going to be like running back and offensive coordinator. Stupid crap like that. Now I just look back at it, I'm like, what an idiot you were. But like I was letting it bother me, and even like when I was just engaged and first married, and I was letting it bother me. And I remember just being upset after losses, and like my excuse would always be, it's like I'm dealing with some things. No, I'm not. It's a game, and I know it annoyed the crap out of me, and it still kind of annoys me too when people say it's just a game. But the truth of the matter is, it is a game. For a lot of us, probably a lot of you listening right now, it's our passions. It's our favorite thing, and for a lot of people, it's probably their way. Like now, I may be different than a lot of people because I am very fortunate to work I get to talk about sports for 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. There are times when I complain about, I can't believe I got to do this, or man, my alarm at 3:00, there's that stuff, and I'm complaining about this and all that. And that's where my anxiety kind of really kicks in. And it sucks. Like, if you listen to Jay Glazer, NFL Insider, you follow him, he calls it the gray in that. But anxiety sucks. Medication can only do so much. And I am on it. But I there'll be times I'll just take a step back and I'll be like, man, there'd be people that kill to do what I do, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. But so I don't know if that's kind of where I just, after I started to do the radio show and I was more in sports, is that where I kind of just like took a step back and like, man, I don't want to be one of those people that gets completely upset and lets it ruin my life if my favorite team wins. And then part of it is I don't want to have my son see how I react to a game on TV, because I don't want him to react like that when he gets older and when he starts playing. I don't want him to be that type of kid, coaching and him now in third graders and seeing some of the kids around his age and how they act and how they treat coaches and how they treat their teammates. It's like, good God, what's going on with their home life too? I mean, for crying out loud, when did sports become this thing where it's like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's to the point too where you've got, it doesn't even, it feels like, I guess what I'm trying to say, it feels like, and I don't know if this is true, but it feels like fans sometimes just rather be miserable and point out every single mistake to prove that they were right, instead of almost cheering on their team or just wanting what's best for their team. For another example, Matt LaFleur staying with Green Bay. I mean, a hot button topic and for the Packers in Wisconsin sports, right? Incredibly hot topic. And before it came out, I took the position of whatever happens, happens. I can make the case for both sides. I can make the case to keep him. I can make the case to fire him. At the end of the day, my opinion, they don't give a crap about my opinion at 1265 Lombardi Avenue. And whatever they decide, I want to be a fan. That is my team, and I'm a fan of theirs. And I'm going to support it either way. I'm not going to sit there and pout and complain about a decision that I don't really have any say in. And to be fair, they know a whole lot more than I do, and they know a whole lot more than what a lot of people do. It's like, I'm not going to go to a doctor's office, okay? And the doctor diagnoses me with something, and I'll be like, wait a minute. Are you sure? I've watched 18 years of Grey's Anatomy. Are you sure it's that? It might be that. I think you're wrong. That might be a little bit of a dramatic kind of comparison, but it's like that. It's like, okay, we watch this stuff on TV. We watch it in person. We're not behind the scenes. We're not in the meetings. And the decision makers and the coaches and all that, they know a crap ton more than we do. It's where you just kind of have to put your trust and your faith if you're a fan. Now, I'm not saying, again, you can have your opinions. I still have some. Doesn't mean it's right. But the thing is if I'm wrong, I don't have a problem anymore to say that, hell, I got it wrong. I got it wrong on Jordan Love. I got it wrong on Aaron Rodgers. Damn glad I did. And I feel like, I don't know what's been going on. Like, I almost feel like fans kind of give a vibe at times where they give the impression that, man, it's painful to be a sports fan because I got to deal with this and that. Then don't be a sports fan. Sports is supposed to be that escape. Sports is supposed to be that fun. So I don't know. Maybe some people find it as an escape for them if they want to complain and bitch and moan and banter about their favorite teams nonstop. Maybe it is different for me because I talk about it 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Maybe I'm just not the right person. But I guess what another thing I'm trying to say is that I think we got to get back to making sports fun. I feel like that's kind of becoming secondary. Yeah, losing sucks and that, but that comes with sports, right? That comes with it. With the losing is going to be winning. I mean, that your team's not going to win every single damn time. As much as we want it to happen, it's not going to happen. So, I mean, with the bad decisions, with the losses, it's going to happen. And it's I'll admit it gets frustrating at times seeing some of the entitlements, seeing some of the like incredibly opinionated takes like, well, that guy's a bum. He's an awful coach. Or that guy's an awful player. He's just bad in the locker room. Unless you're in the locker room, how do you know that? And that's another kind of leads into another thing that I really want to do with this podcast because I love this quote and I heard Ken Burns the documentary say this. It was actually a quote from Richard Powers, who's an author, and he I'm going to sum it up, but essentially it is the best, we're all about arguing in this world. But the best argument is like essentially storytelling because tell a good story. And that can help form opinions. You're not going to change anybody's opinion necessarily with arguing all the time, but if you tell a story, you tell a good story, and that can help change people's opinions. That's documentaries and such. And I'm like, how can I do that like in a sports world too? And that's a vibe I want to do with this podcast. So like, let's say we bring up the topic of Jonathan Gannon. Okay, he's going to be the new defensive coordinator. People have opinions on that. Well, he sucked at Arizona, but tell the whole story. Tell the whole story. That's what I want to do. I want to tell the story, and then you form your opinions on that. Because I think we live in such a society where it's headline grabbing, it's stuff's taken out of context because of social media. It's kind of crazy. So that's what I hope you guys and gals, if you're all listening, that kind of makes sense, the vibe I want to do with this podcast. There's going to be more videos, full-on videos. Kind of just off unscripted stuff. If you're watching this video, you've probably noticed I don't have a script. I got nothing here. I'm just shooting straight from the hip. But I am going to include the show highlights still too, because I mean, you want to hear Packers talk, you want to hear Brewers talk, you want to hear Badger talk, and outdoor stuff too, and such. So I got to figure out a way, because I don't know if anybody is annoyed. I would just assume that a lot of times on Fridays, while we're doing the radio show, I'll upload clips right away, and it's like my good buddy Brian will be like, "Oh yeah, you uploaded 5 episodes." I'm like, that's got to be annoying for people, and I apologize for that. So I got to find a better way to include those clips into the Man Cave podcast. Maybe it's just under one heading, 715 tailgate series or something like that. So, but hey, I'm open to ideas, but I'm serious too. All right. I want to hear some stories from you. I don't care if it's a good, you got a creepy ghost story, you got an awesome hunting story, you got an awesome sports story, you got opinions, thoughts. Seriously, email me, mancavepodmail@gmail.com. I still want to do this tailgate confession sort of thing. You got a sports confession you want to make, you got a hunting confession you want to make, like, dude, I missed this big buck and I've never told anybody. I don't have to say your name. Or be like, yeah, I got to admit, I used to be a Bears fan, and I don't got to say your name. All right, this is the Man Cave. That's the vibe. I want it to be open, and I want it to be kind of an escape. So, and I'm still looking for a new theme song too, if anybody's got that. Hit me up, local stuff, local bands. Hit me up with a cool tune, all right? So that's kind of our first episode of the Revamped podcast. All right. Appreciate you guys. If you haven't already, follow, subscribe, Apple, Spotify, YouTube page, Hudson. We're still going to do Kid Cave episodes on the Man Cave podcast too, and Hudson wants 800 more subscribers. So it's a tall task, but hopefully we can get there. All right, 5-star rating, positive review, because again, that helps the algorithms out there and helps others find the podcast. But until next time, peeps, appreciate it. And we're going to talk again soon on the next episode of the Man Cave Podcast.